Okay, so welcome everybody to the final of the 2019 British Student Quiz Championships, which is the 9th iteration in the modern era of this competition. And as in many iterations previously, we have a final which is going to be played between Cambridge and Oxford. My name is Em Dickinson. I look after editing the set from NAQT's SCT tournament for this competition. Let's start by meeting the teams, and I will begin with the challengers to the title Oxford. So if you could introduce yourselves, please, in a university challenge style. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Hi, I'm Jacob Robertson. I'm from New Malden, and I'm reading physics.
Hi, I'm Isaac Brown. I'm from Sheffield, and I'm studying French and linguistics.
I'm George Shelson, I'm from Hull, I'm studying economics.
I'm Ollie Clark, I'm from Birmingham, and I'm doing a DPhil in ancient history.
Round of applause for Oxford. And the defending champions, holder of the British Student Quiz Championships, let's meet Cambridge.
I'm Richard Freeland, I'm from Glamorgan and I'm doing a PhD in algebra.
I'm Samuel Cook, I'm from Rugby and I'm doing a PhD in glaciology.
I'm Joseph Kroll, I'm from Bingley in West Yorkshire and I'm doing maths.
I'm Yanbei Yin, I live in Birmingham and I'm doing physics.
Round of applause for Cambridge. Okay, if both teams are ready, we'll make a start. So this is BSGC 2019 final, 24 toss-ups, and this is the first of them, fingers on buzzers. It's not Greece, but one poet from this country wrote the memoir The Presence after his wife died in a car accident and referenced his work as a doctor in his title White Coat, Purple Coat. An Anglican priest from this country declared Shelley dreamed it in Song at the Year's Turning. Danny Abbs was a poet from this country where another poet recalled a 30th birthday in October walking a seashore in the collection Deaths and Entrances. For 10 points, name this birthplace of R.S. and Dylan Thomas.
Wales.
10 points for Wales. And the bonus is Cambridge. Today, Sunday, March the 10th, 2019, is the final day of British Pie Week for 10 points each. This Leicestershire town produces a type of pork pie with a distinctive crust that is hand-formed rather than being baked in a tin.
Melton Mowbray.
Melton Mowbray is correct. A pie of this fish names an island in the Thames at Twickenham that was home to an influential 1960s jazz club. Liquor from stewing this fish is added to parsley and served with pie and mash in the East End.
It's eel pie.
Eel is correct. These traditional Bedfordshire suet crust dumplings are sometimes divided into two with a savoury filling in one end and a sweet one in the other.
Oh yes,
It's the Bedfordshire Clanger.
go for it.
The Bedfordshire Clanger.
Clanger is correct, and that's 30 votes.
Dawa, dawa, dawa.
This material, along with plastic imitations, is used to decorate the key touches on most modern saxophones and valve buttons on trumpets. Because metal can taint the taste of caviar, caviar spoons are usually made from this
Mother of Pearl.
mother of pearl for 15.
That's great stuff.
Bonus is Oxford. This man bet his freedom, as well as the freedom of his brothers, in a crooked game of dice. For 10 points each, name this prince, the eldest of the Pandava brothers.
Arjun, no, not
Answer,
Arjun.
please.
Oh no, who's the other one?
That's Yudhisthira.
Yeah.
Yudhisthira is a central figure in this Hindu epic that contains the Bhagavad Gita.
Mahabharata.
Yeah.
The Mahabharata.
Mahabharata is correct. After ascending Mount Meru, Yudhisthira refused to abandon one of these animals, which was his father Dharma in disguise.
What do you think? What's it going to be? Tiger? Something like that?
It's going to be something.
Answer, please.
Tiger.
That's a dog.
Yeah.
Some of these structures that contain Rab3 are anchored to ion channels by the RIM and RIM-BP scaffolding proteins. These structures are grouped into readily releasable, recycling, and reserve pools. VAMP and synaptobrevin are embedded into the membranes of these structures. High cytoplasmic calcium levels drive snare complexes to mediate
Vesicles?
vesicles for 10.
No.
The 1920s Cambridge saw a resurgence in the revival style associated with this country for 10 points each. Name this country whose stylistic influence in Art Deco is exemplified by statues of black cats and a colonnade with painted papyrus flower motifs at the Carrera cigarette factory in Mornington Crescent.
Yeah. Egypt.
Egypt is correct. An earlier Egyptian revival followed the Napoleonic invasion of Egypt. That architectural trend led to an Egyptian avenue being built for this London location, whose other features include the Circle of Lebanon.
I have no idea. Is this Hyde Park? Why not?
Answer, please.
Hyde Park?
That's Highgate Cemetery. Alexander Thomson designed this city's Egyptian halls on Union Street and combined Greek and Egyptian motifs for its St. Vincent Street church. This city's Riverside Museum, designed by Zaha Hadid with a zigzag roof, opened in 2011 as part of the urban renewal of its docks.
I think that works at Glasgow.
Could be.
Or Liverpool.
I don't know.
Glasgow.
Answer, please. So-
Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow is correct. Let's play the remote. Dominique Picquart and François-Xavier Tourt were renowned as craftsmen of these objects, part of which is often made from Pernambuco wood. These devices are allowed to naturally bounce as part of a sautier stroke, and a fin tool V placed over a note indicates that this...
Bows?
Yeah.
Well done.
C18 columns are commonly used for this specific form of high-performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC, for 10 points each. Name this form of HPLC that uses a non-polar stationary phase, thereby allowing more polar compounds to elute first.
What?
It's a form
of HPLC. Bloody hell, I have no
Answer,
idea.
please.
Really high performance.
That's reverse phase HPLC. Many normal phase HPLC columns are packed with a variant of this abundant material that is the main component of sand.
Silica. Silica.
Correct. HPLC columns lined with cyclodextrins are used to purify molecules based on this property. The resulting purity in terms of this property is often measured by a parameter abbreviated EE.
Yeah, that's an anti-American excess, so this is like by chirality.
Oh, yeah, good.
Chirality.
Chirality
Solid.
is correct. The names Devout Friar and Small Nun designate the peaks of an extinct volcano in this country known as the Altar. In this country, squat towers reflect an architect's arithmetic mistake on the new cathedral of Cuenca. This country's capital lies on the slopes of the inactive volcano Pichincha.
Ecuador.
Ecuador for 10.
Sorry.
And the place is Oxford. The last recording featuring both this musician and Charlie Parker was 1953's Jazz at Massey Hall, for 10 points each. Name this trumpeter who played a trumpet whose bell was bent upward.
Oh, Dizzy probably. Gillespie.
Dizzy Gillespie is correct. Gillespie and Parker appeared as part of a quintet that also featured this ill-tempered bassist who orchestrated the album The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady.
Mingus.
Charles Mingus is correct. Massey Hall is a concert venue in this North American city that also hosts the Beaches International Jazz Festival.
Don't know, because it said North American, so that's probably hinting at
Answer,
things in
please.
Canada. Let's say it's Vancouver.
That's Toronto.
Ah, there you go. We didn't say it.
Martin Heidegger illustrates these concepts using a silver chalice in The Question Concerning Technology. Nicolas Tinbergen put forth a set of questions that corresponds to these concepts.
Like behaviours?
No, you lose first points.
Sorry.
Previous treatments of these concepts by monists and pluralists are criticised in Book Alpha of a work by their formulator. These concepts, which in Greek are called aitia, appear in the Physics. For 10 points, Aristotle posited what set of 4 concepts, including material, formal, efficient, and final?
Causes.
Those are 4 causes. For 10 points each, Oxford, answer the following about notions of consensus in various fields. The false consensus effect is one of these systemic deviations from rationality. Another one overestimates certainty in hindsight.
Bias.
Yes, those are biases. A type of consensus called Byzantine fault tolerance is desirable in these computer systems, which pass information between networked devices. Decentralized systems are a subtype of them.
We don't know. They want like Yeah, router, service,
No.
relays,
Answer please.
service.
Those are distributed systems.
That makes sense.
This historian stressed the role of consensus in US history in such books as The Genius of American Politics. This historian's 3-volume work on the Americans included the democratic experience.
I can't remember what this guy
I'm
called.
sorry. Yeah, that's fine.
Answer
Sewell.
please. That's Daniel Burston.
Yeah.
10 from those. One person with this profession used skills from a milliner's apprenticeship to popularise an elaborate mob cap. The chief beneficiary of the estate of Prince Rupert of Bahrain had this profession, which first gave public fame to the person who supposedly dubbed the Duchess of Portsmouth Squintabella. That person continued in this profession in spite of being the Protestant whore of Charles II.
So, like, actress, yes.
Actress.
No, maybe
10. This author's trilogy, To the Ends of the Earth, takes the form of the journal of a 19th century aristocrat on a series of long voyages. For 10 points each, name this author who in the novel Close Quarters described that aristocrat falling in love with Miss Marion Chumley when the frigate Alcyon meets his stricken ship.
What's this? Charles No.
Answer please.
Conrad.
Conrad.
That's William Golding. Golding won the Booker Prize for this first novel of To the Ends of the Earth, in which Edmund Talbot recounts his first voyage to Australia. In this novel, the peculiar Reverend Colley dies after an obscure beastliness with the ship's men.
I don't think it's the Inheritors. Rites of Passage.
Yes, it is, Rites of Passage. Golding's work on human savagery on the high seas includes this novel, in which Ralph and Jack vie to be the leader of a group of boys who are stranded on an island.
The Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies, for 20 from those. This author of 1932's Mathematical Foundations of Quantum Mechanics proved that the matrix and wave formulations of quantum mechanics are equivalent. Hypothetical self-replicating space probes are named for this man, whose studies of self-replicating systems...
Von Neumann?
Von Neumann, 15. When this work premiered in 1902, Konstantin Stanislavski originated the role of Saturn, for 10 points each. Name this play that centres on the inhabitants of a lodging house in Volga.
Lower Depths.
Yeah, The Lower Depths.
The Lower
Yeah,
Depths.
Lower Depths is correct. The author of The Lower Depths, Maxim Gorky, pioneered this no longer extant country's literary movement of socialist realism.
USSR.
USSR.
USSR is correct. Gorky's early works include this short story, which is also set in a cellar. In it, the title Pretzel Makers are visited daily by a woman named Tanya.
26 Men and a Girl.
26 Men and a Girl gives you 30.
That's in there.
Okay, so the one that was start at 8. This is the 1/3 point. Oxford leading, Cambridge 152.95. Starter 9. Geoffrey Blaney emphasised the importance of this country's geographical isolation from its coloniser in The Tyranny of Distance. Henry Reynolds' attempts to reform this country's historiography were criticised by the conservative Keith Windshuttle in the History Wars of the...
Australia?
Yeah, that's 10. For 10 points each, answer the following about Hainan Province. China claims that Hainan includes the disputed Paracel Islands and Spratly Islands. Those islands are found in this sea between China, the Philippines, and mainland Southeast Asia.
South China Sea.
South China Sea is correct. The Cheongjiu Strait separates Hainan from this most populous Chinese province,
Guangdong,
whose
yes.
major cities include Shenzhen.
Guangdong.
Correct. This capital and most populous city of Hainan lies at the mouth of the Nandu River and is home to Chilo Snack Street.
Oh, what's it called? No, it's in Hainan. No, I can't remember.
That is Haikou.
Yes.
Fair enough.
A 2014 adaptation of this play by Wallace Shawn opens with 5 nurses attending to a man in a hospital bed. A woman insists that the title character of this play promised to give her a kingdom named after the colour orange when they had met 10 years earlier.
The Master Builder.
Master Builder for 15.
Nice.
This concept is illustrated with the example of a man who was genuinely incapable of uttering a single sentence that was not a cliche, for 10 points each. Name this three-word concept coined in a 1963 book which states that cruel actions may be motivated by stupidity and unreflective obedience to orders.
Banality of evil.
Banality of evil is correct. This philosopher who wrote The Origins of Totalitarianism discussed the banality of evil in her book Eichmann in Jerusalem.
Arendt.
Hannah Arendt is correct. This scholar of Kabbalah and author of Major Trends in Jewish Mysticism was highly critical of Arendt's banality of evil thesis.
I can't remember what this person's called.
No, I don't think I read it. No.
Gadamer.
That is Gershon Scholem.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Materials for these devices are studied in an intermittent titration technique, abbreviated GITT. Toray and Celgard produce polyolefin-based separators for these devices for use with solvents like ENC. Layered
Batteries.
Prompt.
Lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah, that's
Well
what
done. 15.
15 for lithium-ion batteries gives you these bonuses. The product of this quantity with the moment of inertia tensor yields the angular momentum. For 10 points each, name this quantity measured in radians per second that expresses an object's rate of rotation.
Angular velocity.
Angular velocity is correct. The cross product of angular velocity with linear velocity in a fixed frame defines this contribution to the apparent rate of change of a body's momentum in a rotating frame, since a linear motion appears curved.
Coriolis force.
Yes, Coriolis force.
Coriolis force is correct. The overall rotation of a rigid body can be decomposed orthogonally in terms of nutation, intrinsic rotation, and this quantity, a change in the first Euler angle in which the axis of rotation is itself rotating.
Precession.
Precession is correct, that's all 30.
Good. That's some chaps.
It's not Brussels, but this city is home to a sculpture of a pink man pissing, the bad, bad boy. This city, whose nickname is Stadi, is also the home of the bright red Sporokov pub tram. A monument of hundreds of steel pipes honours this city's most famous composer. This city's neoclassical Senate Square showcases the architecture of Carl Ludwig Engel, including a white Lutheran cathedral with 5 green domes. For 10 points, what capital city is...
Warsaw?
Lose 5. Is home to the Sibelius Monument and lots of saunas.
Sorry.
Helsinki.
Helsinki is correct. 20% of this country's population has been displaced by a civil war since 2013. For 10 points each, name this country where President Catherine Samba-Panza demanded that all cabinet members prove independence from both the anti-Balaka militia and its opponents.
Central African Republic, I think.
Yes.
Central African Republic?
Central African
Lovely
Republic
place.
for 10. The civil war pitted the government and anti-Balaka against this rebel coalition, whose leader, Michel Djotodia, took the presidency by force in 2013.
What are the anti-Palakas called? I'm not going to remember
Answer
this.
please.
No.
That is Seleka.
Yeah.
This international organisation, whose peacekeepers are known as Blue Berets or Blue Helmets, maintains the MINUSCA mission in the Central African Republic.
That's UN.
UN.
That is the UN, 20 from those.
Come on.
The 2008 Olympics introduced an open water swim of this distance in which Natalie Dutoit became the first amputee to compete at the Olympics. Liz McColgan became 1991 Sports Personality of the Year after a World Championships win at this distance. At Rio 2016, Almaz Ayana broke the women's...
5,000 metres.
You lose 5 points.
Should
The
have
women's world record for this distance by 14 seconds. On Super Saturday 2012, Mo Farah won gold at this distance, which forms the run leg of an Olympic distance triathlon. For 10 points...
10,000 metres.
10,000 metres.
I should have buzzed him. Open swim.
When you were
Yeah, I should have done. I thought the new one was
For 10 points each, answer the following about video game developer Telltale Games.
Okay.
In Sheep's Clothing is the title of a chapter in this episodic adventure game by Telltale, in which Bigby investigates the murder of Faith in Fabletown.
Fabletown. Where? What is this?
I've heard of this before.
I've heard of this, but I don't know.
Answer, please.
No.
That is The Wolf Among Us. Telltale Games produces a game in this franchise based on a post-apocalyptic comic series by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore. In the first season of that game, Lee Everett protects Clementine from zombies.
The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead is correct. Telltale Games' first release was a simulator of this real-life game. Doyle Brunson wrote Super System about this gambling game, whose other computer shovelware includes Stacked with Daniel Negreanu.
So probably poker.
Is it?
Gambling game.
Should we go
Negreanu, I don't know who that
Poker.
Answer, please.
Poker.
Poker is correct.
Yeah, because he must be a
Yes.
professional poker player.
Don't worry.
From 2006 to 2017, this country pursued a nationalistic policy called antiquization. In 2018, this country changed a roadway's name to Friendship Highway.
Macedonia.
Macedonia for 15. Your bonus is Cambridge. Mississippi did not ratify this constitutional amendment until 1984. For 10 points each, name this provision that extended the franchise to women in the USA in 1920. Answer, please.
Yeah, big number.
15th.
That's the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment is nicknamed for this successor to Elizabeth Cady Stanton as late leader of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. She demanded such an amendment from Congress every year from 1869.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anthony.
Susan B. Anthony is correct. This state became the crucial 36th state to ratify the 19th Amendment after intense campaigning over several months by suffragists like Carrie Catt and Anne Dudley.
What's that one we'll get to?
Yeah,
Somewhere that's not Mississippi.
Answer, please.
I don't know. Utah. No.
That is Tennessee.
Okay.
This quantity is enhanced on the strong side of a Halbach array, a configuration commonly used in wigglers. Devices in the Helmholtz configuration produce homogeneous
Magnetic fields.
So again,
Magnetic fields.
magnetic fields. For 10 points each, answer the following about the Bullish-Stur method of numerical integration. It can be used on this type of equation. Linear second-order examples of these equations are the subject of Sturm-Liouville
Or
theory.
just differential
Yeah,
equations.
differential
ODEs.
So again?
ODEs.
ODE is correct, yes. The method uses this technique of combining approximations with different step sizes to cancel the lowest order error term.
Different steps.
What do they want? Like quadrature?
Answer, please.
Adaptive.
This is Richardson extrapolation.
That,
The method uses this type of fitting function to extrapolate to a step size of 0. This type of function, which equals a polynomial p over a polynomial q, is named by analogy with numbers equal to an integer m over an
just
integer
rational.
n.
Makes sense.
Okay, rational.
Rational is correct. Let's play from those.
It's time, yeah.
One of this author's title characters reminisces about volcanoes in an Elizabeth Bishop poem set in England.
Defoe.
For power.
Year 4.
We get paid.
Augustina, the so-called Spanish Joan of Arc, was known as the Maid of this city, for 10 points each. Named the Spanish city that was defended by José de Palafox in the second of 2 extended sieges during the Peninsular War.
2 sieges. La Coruna, perhaps? La Coruna?
That's Zaragoza. For 3 centuries after its capture by Alfonso I in 1118, Zaragoza was the capital of this kingdom. It was united with Castile when Ferdinand II married Isabella I.
Aragon, yes. Aragon.
Aragon is correct.
Yeah.
The Taifa of Zaragoza was established following the collapse of this caliphate ruled by the Umayyad dynasty, which Abd al-Rahman III led in the mid-10th century.
It's just the Umayyad Caliphate.
No,
What
they
is
said
it?
Umayyad.
Is it Al-Andalus? I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
try
Al-Andalus.
Almoravid.
It's not Almoravid.
That's
Al-Andalus.
the Caliphate of Cordoba.
Oh, right. The Almoravids are the dynasty.
Yeah, the Almoravids are different.
Okay.
This artist's 2 sets of works on the Passion of Christ are commonly known as Large and Small Passion. This artist prefaced a 15-picture series with St. John's vision of the Virgin on Patmos and collaborated with
Poussin?
Lose 5. Collaborated with mathematician Johannes Stabius on a 195-block print of a triumphal arch. This artist of the Apocalypse series depicted a frowning winged woman in an allegorical work also showing a magic square. For 10 points, name this artist whose woodcuts include Melancholia 1 and a depiction of a rhinoceros.
Jura.
Albrecht Dürer is correct, and your bonus is Cambridge. This Poets in a Station of the Metro compares the apparition of faces to petals on a wet black bough for 10 points each. Name this expatriate American poet whose cantos were published over a period of 50 years from 1917.
Pound.
Ezra Pound is correct. In a Station of the Metro was written as part of this literary movement through which Pound sought luminous detail in poetic visualization of an object. H.D. was another writer in this movement. Imagism is correct. This British poet's opposition to romantic optimism contributed to the founding principles of the Imagist movement. One short poem by this writer opens, "A touch of cold in the autumn night."
Hume.
T. Hume.
Well done.
He's
And
a
that's
Math.
30.
Come on, James. We can do this. Come on.
This is start at 18. This actress played protective actress Sybil Thorndike in My Week with Marilyn. This actress starred alongside her husband Michael Williams in A Fine Romance and appeared alongside Ian McKellen in Trevor Nunn's Macbeth. In 2017, this actress starred alongside
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench.
Yes. That's Betty's lead.
In October 2018, Philip Hammond announced the final cancellation of the latest successor to this policy. For 10 points each, name this off-balance sheet policy used extensively by the Blair government to contract the building and management of new schools and hospitals to companies like Carillion and
Private
Capita.
Finance Initiative, isn't it?
Try that, P.
Private Finance Initiative?
PFI, the Private Finance Initiative, is correct. In a 2004 special report for Private Eye, an investigative journalist with this surname publicised the high long-term costs of PFI. That journalist's uncle, also with this surname, wrote Guilty Men with Frank Owen and Peter Howard.
Guilty Man was by...
I don't know.
Not Butler, I don't know.
Answer, please.
Butler?
That was Foote, Paul Foote and
Yes.
Michael Foote.
Okay.
Sorry.
Paul Foote's report called this Treasury policymaker from the major government the intellectual thrust of PFI. This creator of civic conservatism backed David Davis's unsuccessful 2005 Tory leadership bid.
Michael Fabricant? Just a guess.
It's too
It's not
Answer,
that.
please.
Try it.
Michael Fabricant.
That is David Willits.
Oh, right. Excellent.
Wow.
It's a close game.
Come on, then.
I noticed.
It doesn't
I'm
have
just
to
going
be.
to take a pause.
We can do this.
Okay, this is 19 ago. This organisation lost over 30% of its members in December 2018 following a unification council that created a new star arpeggion. This organisation's celebration with a former...
So the Russian Orthodox Church.
For 15. In this composer's debut opera, the captain and the doctor overhear the title character drowning as he attempts to dispose of the bloody dagger that he used to murder Marie. For 10 points each, name this Austrian composer who shocked audiences with the atonality of his opera Wozzeck.
It is.
Berg.
Alban Berg is correct. Berg dedicated Wozzeck to Alma, the widow of this other Austrian composer who adapted Hans Wittger's translations of Chinese poetry in The Song of the Earth.
Mahler.
Mahler is correct. In his second opera, Alban Berg represented the character of Lulu with the flute, alto sax, and this percussion instrument that, while common in jazz, was at the time a novelty in a classical orchestra.
Well, they didn't really have that in, I mean, maybe bass drum. What do they play in? They just play,
Answer, please.
I don't know, bass drum.
That's a vibraphone, the vibes.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Margaret Oliphant sought to defend this thinker from a warts and all biography of him by his disciple James Froude. This thinker reviewed the leadership of Samson of Tottington in a work that coined the term captain of industry and analysed the condition of England question. After the only manuscript was accidentally burned while held by J.S. Mill, this...
Carlyle.
For 10. So with that buzzing Thomas Carlyle bonuses Cambridge. In this work, the young rake Charles Surface sells his family's portraits to the moneylender Mr. Premium, not realising that Premium is his uncle Sir Oliver in disguise. For 10 points each, name this comedy of intrigue in which Lady Sneerwell attempts to lure the other characters into socially compromising situations.
Sneerwell.
I'm not sure.
It's like School for Scandal, maybe?
Go for it.
Answer, please.
School for Scandal?
Correct. Scandal. Richard Brinsley Sheridan's The School for Scandal was first performed at this London theatre, where Sheridan succeeded David Garrick as owner manager. This is the oldest London theatre still in use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drury Lane.
Drury Lane is correct. Sheridan was also a politician. In that role, he was portrayed by this caricaturist as an old bottle of sherry being uncorked by Pitt the Younger, bursting forth with a spray of fibs, stolen jests, and stale jokes.
Yeah, Gilray.
James Gilray for 30. John Galsworthy's story, Late 299, focuses on a man who went to prison for performing this action. Nina views this action as a scientific solution after learning that insanity runs in Sam's family in Strange Interlude. Wilbur Larch and Homer Wells are both secretly willing to undertake this service, while...
Like abortions?
Abortion for 10. This biologist dissected the misogynistic scientific work of Paul Broca in the essay Women's Brains for 10 points each. Named this biologist who criticised the theory that intelligence is biologically determined in his book The Mismeasure of Man.
That's by Mismeasure of Man.
Answer,
Stephen Jay
please.
Gould. Stephen Jay... No, Herrnstein.
Stephen Jay Gould.
Fuck.
Gould co-developed punctuated equilibrium, which states that this process does not occur gradually over millions of years, but rather in spurts over thousands of years.
Evolution. Yeah, evolution.
Evolution is correct. In a 1979 paper, Gould uses this architectural term to describe features of an organism that arise not due to natural selection, but as a byproduct of developing some other feature.
So like consequences.
Answer, please.
Orifice.
Those are spandrels.
Spandrel. Wow.
What's a spandrel?
It's a niche architectural feature. Oh well.
Sorry, that's bad.
Don't worry. Okay, so focus.
3 starters remain.
Very good.
This city was the base of an ultra-nationalist, occultist political movement known as the Fuel Society. After
Munich.
power. For 10 points each, answer the following about an African empire. This empire rose to power under Sunni Ali following Mansa Musa's death and the collapse of the Mali Empire.
Pretty sure it's Songhai, right?
Yeah, Songhai.
Songhai Empire is correct. The capital of the Songhai Empire was this city on the Niger that contains the tomb of Askia Muhammad.
Yeah. Gao.
Gao is correct. Moroccan armies led by Sultan al-Mansur conquered the Songhai Empire at this 1591 battle, fought near the present city of Songkhla, 95 miles upriver from Gao.
Oh, what's it called?
I've seen this battle somewhere.
No, I can't remember it.
Answer, please. That is the Battle of Tondibi.
Oh, come on.
Come on, chaps.
Okay, please. Infrared mapping of one of these bodies in 2010 revealed a Pac-Man-shaped heat distribution, including a warm spot caused by the 5-kilometre high walls of the Herschel crater. The south pole of one of these bodies has 4 fractures called type
Moons of Saturn.
power. Moons of Saturn gets you these bonuses. This man was buried by his son Acastus after most of his daughters chopped him to pieces and threw him into a boiling pot. For 10 points each, name this king of Iolcus.
It's Jason and the Argonauts. It's, oh god.
Who sends Jason?
Oh, Peleus.
Answer, please.
Peleus.
Peleus is correct. Peleus ordered a hero to retrieve this object owned by the Aeetes of Colchis.
Yeah.
The Golden Fleece.
Golden Fleece is correct. Peleus' mother Tyro was a daughter of this king. He was struck down while riding at high speed in a chariot over a bridge of brass to imitate thunder.
Oh.
Oh, so this is the guy that Zeus kills but pretending to be Zeus.
Yeah. So
Answer, please.
Ixion?
No, that's Salmoneus.
Oh, wow.
Put him on that one.
Sorry.
No,
Interesting.
Sorry. Oh, wait, so what's the score?
There's a 40-point game for Oxford, and this is the final starter. This economist's early research in Nairobi encouraged him to develop an equilibrium theory of wage determination. With Andrew Weiss, this economist investigated why lenders ration credit. After leading the World Bank at the end of the Roaring 90s, this economist became a critic of the Washington Consensus. George Akerlof and Michael
Stiglitz.
Stiglitz. Still leave the awards for bonuses, and then we can celebrate in full. In a letter to Friedrich Emanuel Niethammer, the winning general of this battle was described as a single point which reaches out over the world and masters it. For 10 points each, name this battle whose winner was called a world soul by a philosopher at the German university town near Auerstedt where it took place.
So Jena?
Yes, it will be.
Jena?
It's Hegel.
Jena is correct. This philosopher was working on his phenomenology of spirit as the Battle of Jena raged outside.
Hegel.
Hegel is correct. The hero of the ensuing Battle of Auerstedt was this French marshal who was given the honorific Duke of Auerstedt for winning an
What's he called?
improbable victory.
I think I don't care.
when is
really,
it?
to be honest.
Devon?
Yeah, that is Well, after a spectacular contest, really well placed to the 8 people in front of me, the score with 415 to 335 gives me great pleasure to declare Oxford the British Student Quiz Champions 2019. So, well done, guys.